Greetings and welcome to Growth Hacking Show. I'm your host Muhammad Siddique, and today's topic is be a heroic voice, how leaders communicate trust. In fact, without a trust, there's no communication of any kind. No one believe anything what you do until they feel that someone who is speaking is coming from their heart and mind and hands. Everything is synced in. And for that, we are going to bring two guests, not one. So you better lean forward and watch it very carefully. And the first one I'm going to bring is Anthony Lee. He is the founder and CEO of Heroic Voice, 30 years of startup and 12 years of event production experience. And they have prepared their clients for high-stake presentation, including conference keynotes, TEDx presentations, conference trainings, investor presentations, and media interviews. And with him is the Sean Adam. Sean Adam is the COO of Heroic Voice and executive communication coach and the co-founder of Heroic Voice Academy, makes complex things easy to understand. And I can witness that. I will definitely witness Sean. Thank you so much, Sean and Anthony. Welcome to the Growth Hacking Show.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
we're excited to be here.
Yes, Anthony, let me start with this. Where were you? What happened? Who you were surrounded with that inspired you to start Heroic Voice?
Well, Sean and I have known each other for 10 years. And in the project that we've worked on together, one of the things we enjoy together really is teaching. Teaching people who want to be leaders, who want to create change in the world. And the best way of us teaching them is really working with their speaking skills, their communication skills, because that's the way that they're able to create connection, to build relationships. And we've been doing it for over 10 years, and we've loved every moment of it.
Yeah, Anthony, I just met you through Sean, and in fact, I can guarantee this one. Sean and I know have more common, and we know almost close to 8-9 years now already together. And Sean, how you end up in working with Anthony on this one? You don't even look like each other. No.
Yeah, it kind of came out of the fact that we both have that same passion for education, for helping people learn skills that are applicable and that they can use immediately. I bring my 20 years of background experience in the teaching from both the academic higher education side and the personal development side. And Anthony really has that history of being employee 47 at a tech company and knowing what it means to have a startup and having to really work that back end part of a startup to make them successful. So between those two unique bits of experience and knowledge, we were able to realize that communication is really the centerpiece for everything that leads to success for any company. And so if we can help people be able to communicate more effectively, we're successfully moving people towards creating the global impact they want to create.
Absolutely. In fact, communication makes or break everything at home with the partners and with vendors, clients, everywhere. The one thing is to communicate, especially in this COVID-19. The only company will actually survive and thrive in this one from now onward. It's not their product, it's not their service, how they communicate with the relationships they have in their, and also the prospects. By the way, Anthony and Sean, do you agree with this?
Oh, absolutely. I want to say that it's interesting you mentioned COVID-19 because as the crisis started, Sean and I made a company decision that as we're training people for TED Talks, keynotes, and conferences, all those events were canceled. So we asked ourselves, what's the best way we can serve our clients to serve the world? And that's by taking a shift. And that shift was the most important presentation isn't on stage anymore. It's in front of your company. Like you said, it's the relationships in your company. So for 10 straight weeks, we held a webinar just teaching anyone that was interested how to deliver a town hall presentation. And we've trained over 60 companies. Every one of our leaders who did that, when they stepped in front of the room, now this is a room that's very, very high pressure, right? There's lots of anxiety and fear in the room. Yeah. But just by learning our framework, very simply, they were able to reduce uncertainty and to restore confidence.
And reduce uncertainty and restore the confidence. That's the key. The moment they face a camera in a virtual environment and they actually walk into the stage, whatever they have prepared is all gone. What's the one thing you teach them? Right on, give them the tips. Anthony, I start with you, and then Sean, I'm going to ask you in a moment. So what's the one thing you tell them, okay, how you keep your confidence? Because I talk to many people like you on a camera every day, and they were so good before they come on a camera. The moment they come on a camera, whatever they were talking before, it's all gone. How do you keep it?
Well, Sean and I share this affection for the term connection. So, like you mentioned, green room, everything's good. I'm connected to everyone around me. But the moment the camera starts or the moment I step on stage, the connection is lost. So, my big tip is the moment the Zoom starts, just like the moment you step on stage, aim to create that connection with your audience. Share something relatable. Share that you know what it's like to be in their shoes or to experience the emotions that they're experiencing. And most executives, most leaders, they're so nervous, they want to jump into the strategy. So all I say is take a pause, take time to connect with the audience first before sharing your strategy.
Get to know, like, and trust. Sean, what's your tip?
Yeah, the next tip that we like to give, and we always tell people, is to make sure that they focus on 3 to 5 main things they want people to get from the conversation they're about to have. People get caught up in trying to give too much information too quickly, and they worry about, did I forget this word or that word or this word? We teach people to draw simple pictures, to remember to bring up the 3 to 5 main points so that your audience walks away being able to do a quiz at the end where they could pass 100% because they learned those 3 to 5 main points only. You can't cover everything in every conversation. Just know what you need to cover in that conversation.
Sean, you and I both have one thing common. Our mentor, Alex Mendozian. Alex Mendozian, you imagine that Sean has progressed that much in that many years. So, Anthony, what are the top 3 missteps people do when they walk into in front of a camera or a stage? That's everything is a stage now. Camera is a stage these days now.
Yeah.
So, what top 3 missteps we can avoid and learn from you, so that way when we walk into the camera next time we can avoid those mistakes?
I'm going to go with, and these are terms from the Connection Triangle. I'll choose my favorite, and I think Sean has his set of favorites as well.
Yeah.
So the first one is expertise. Are you really showing up on stage with expertise? A common misstep is thinking and overestimating one's ability to wing it. I'm not going to prepare, the weeks and months before. I'll just say it for a couple of days before, go on stage and wing it. And that is the most common myth. Those who do it, it shows up. They end up reading their notes. They end up losing their place. They end up rambling. Whereas those who prepared, they show up and they're crisp, they're precise, they're organized, just like you're running this podcast here. So that's the first one, is overestimating their ability to wing it. The second one is sticking with what we call the lecture tone, right? Speaking at someone. Whereas the best presentations are conversational. Because of the nervousness, they tend to get stuck in their heads and they're in this lecture tone. And I have them shift by imagining, just think that we are in your living room. We're just having a chat over a cup of coffee. When you have that tone and you can keep that tone, that's the best way to stay connected and deliver a great presentation. And the other misstep is really not involving the audience, right? We're on stage, we're at a distance from the people. We're on Zoom, we're at a distance. But still we forget that in the conversation, we leave openings for the audience to interact. So ask them questions, right? Allow them to type into the chat window. Allow them to do exercises with one another. That's a tool of engagement. You've been in Alex's room, and I have as well. That's one thing he does really well. And that's what we train our clients to do. Make sure you engage everyone in the audience because they're part of the conversation.
Wonderful. Keep your audience a part of the conversation. And Sean, so what are your top 3 missteps we can learn from? So in this one show, I'm going to get 2, like a 3 from one and 3 from the other one. It's a double 2x.
We love to over deliver, so that we're thrilled that we can be doing that for you.
Yeah.
One thing that people forget about, especially in this new virtual delivery world, is passion. They still show up like they would as if they were in a room with people. And especially online, you have to kind of ramp up your passion in order for it to still come over at the same level. It's one of those things that when you step behind a camera like this, you just have to know they got to bring it a little bit more than you usually would for it to feel the same way. So that's definitely the first one. The next one is understanding that people want to look down at the people that they're talking to when they're having a conversation online. You got to look at the camera. The camera is the eyes of your audience. That's where you're going to start creating that connection. So stop looking at the pictures of people and start looking at your camera. That's the second biggest mistake folks make, is they look at the people, not their camera. And the third one is, once again, it's too much information. They might have a big, long, PowerPoint or keynote that they're going to be having on the back screen, and they're just going to share the whole time and stay as a little head off to the corner. You got to switch out and in. They got to be able to see you. They need to connect with you as the person. So let your slides, your presentation be your co-star and still be the star of the conversation you're having. Let yourself come forward. Let yourself be center and the focus of folks.
Oh, that is amazing. In fact, I tell my guests when they come, they start looking at me, they say, don't look at me. You can look at me in a recording. Don't look at me right now. Just do a 2-inch above, okay? Because you guys are perfect on this. You made my job so easy. I don't even have to tell you that part, because I know you are the specialist in doing this. So, Anthony, share with me some case study. You can name or not. What one thing you changed and that moved them, oh my God, from disaster to actually, heroic voice, with the communication with trust.
The one thing, and this is one of my favorite case studies, and I tell it quite a bit. I had a client, and this is back in 2016. She was selected to be the anchor speaker for a TEDx in Salt Lake City. She came to us very experienced, and she had been on MTV. She had her own morning talk show. And as anchor speaker, there was an expectation that she would be the best speaker of the night. And what that did was it put her in a little bit of overwhelm. Yes, she is a really good speaker who she wanted to work with us to become a really great speaker. And just that pressure was a little bit intimidating to begin with. And we broke it down. Before we got on this call, we talked about the steps to mastery, how many times you need to do something. And in each of the rehearsals, so she probably did over 200 run-throughs, we only focused in on a small segment. Work on these 2 slides, work on these 3 gestures, work on this story. When you can take presentations, and she had a 12-minute presentation, and break it down into a micro series of workouts, everything becomes more possible. Happy to say that her YouTube views of her TED Talk is over 4.4 million. And because of that, South by Southwest invited her to come speak on their stage last year.
Yeah, that's amazing impact. Sean, any favorite one you like to share? Because more people can see, oh my God, that can happen to me,
Yeah, so I was running a masterclass for a group here in Walnut Creek, and one of the people has this he's bringing out a new way of looking at movement, fitness, wellness kind of things. And it's he's a very smart guy who's got a lot of stuff going on. He's got all these ideas. So the key for that was teaching him this concept that we have the right question. So we helped him identify when somebody's asking him a question, he would just kind of share all of his knowledge with the person, and people would get overwhelmed and lost. So we taught him to listen for the right question, the real question that was being asked. So he would know, oh, what you really want to know is about me, or what you really want to know is how can I make this happen? Or what you really want to know is where have I done this for somebody else? So when he could instead just answer the one real question that he was being asked using our storyboard Sunday comic format, he's been able to make a lot more effective connection with folks because he's not overwhelming them. He's answering what they really want to hear. And that's helped him actually be able to create a bunch of new partnerships with doctors, chiropractors, like people who deal with that movement world. And he's brought in probably 10 new clients during COVID. A guy who physically works on people's movement has actually increased his business because he can actually work with folks virtually, because he's able to answer the real question when somebody asks him a question.
No, that's good. There's always a real question behind the question someone is asking. Yeah, thank you so much. And is it okay if I take a question from someone audience? Some people are getting questions. I'm already getting questions from them. Anthony, are you ready? Okay,
yes,
here's the
absolutely.
person has not stated his name. How can we overcome the hesitation and fear to face the camera even when we have a much more to say and share?
Actually, Anthony, can I take this one? Because this is my favorite thing to talk about all the time.
Okay.
This is one of those things I always use in my coaching, that people come to me like, I get really nervous talking. I said, that's good. And they're confused because most people tell them don't be nervous. If what you're talking about is so important, because we work with folks that are all about global change, global impact. If what you're talking about isn't that important, isn't that level of significance, then you're not going to be nervous. But if it's that level of significance where you have to be able to deliver your message because you want to create this global change, there should be a little nervousness. So I don't want people to shy away from being nervous or afraid. But once you know who you are, what you stand for, what your vision is, how you show up, which is what we call our foundation pieces, vision, values, and vows. When you can clearly express that, that nervousness goes down, because it's not about trying to be something else. It's just being yourself, talking about the thing you're most passionate about.
Wonderful. Anthony, how leaders communicate trust? That's the topic. And how somebody in a virtual environment, when you're communicating and they feel, I trust this person, how you deliver that? You can't say trust me. That's not the question. People, you can't say that statement. They have to feel it's unspoken words. The trust is unspoken words. So how do you actually communicate where the trust is actually being delivered in the communication?
Yeah, I'm going to take a deeper dive into what Sean has shared. So when you're on stage, there's 3 questions that the audience wants answered. They don't ask it to you out front, but you need to know that these must be answered before your presentation ends. The first one is share your vision. Sharing your vision of the future, it gives your audience an idea of where are you heading? What are you creating? So, and they can make the decision whether or not they want to go to the same destination. The second one is values. What's important to you? Right? Because you want the audience to know, do we care about the same things? And the last one is your vows. Vows is an answer to the question, how can I trust you? If I sign up with you, if I become a client, if I invest in you, if I buy from you, how can I count on you? How will you show up each and every day? So by making sure that these questions are answered somewhere within your presentation or somewhere within the conversation, that creates trust.
Oh, that is amazing formula, man. That's easy. Easy. Once you do it 200 times, that makes it easy.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Anthony, who is your ideal client? There are so many CEOs, thought leaders, speakers, coaches, consultants are watching. Everybody thinking, oh, I need to have more help in communicating trust and building a bond with my people who watch me wherever they deliver. Who is your ideal client?
Sean mentioned global impact. So what we look for in a client is someone who is passionate about making global impact somewhere in the world. And they have a passion, right? They want to talk about something, they want to create something, and their voice is not fully trained yet. They're willing to do the work, they're willing to get in the gym, they're willing to rehearse 200 or more times so that they can deliver to their key stakeholders and be able to generate more money, more support, and more positive reputation for their mission.
More positive impact. Sean, who is your ideal client? I know you both work for the same company. However, you may like someone better than the Sean. So I want to get your thoughts too.
Well, Anthony definitely has those skills and unique ability to work with those startups and those cutting edge companies. He's been part of that world. I really like to work with, I've done a lot of work around solopreneurs and personal development folks who want to help change lives just like companies do. But they may not want to be that large global impact company. They just want to create impact within the community they have outreach to. So I actually like to work with those folks who still have a passion, still have a belief that what they do is important in people's lives, and then helping them take that to the next level so they can reach more people more efficiently so that everybody's having a better world. That's what we want.
Definitely, definitely. So, Anthony, you are on this growth hacking show, and I'm going to ask you a blunt question right now. Are you ready?
I'm always ready.
Okay, wonderful. So what would you say to your best friends about growth hacking show when I'm not there?
Ooh, this is a concept that Sean and I love talking about, and it's one of our company agreements is we brag about someone behind their back. So as far as growth hacking show, I loved being here today. This was something where you kept us in conversational mode. You connected us to topics we love to talk about. And it was so easy. It was so easy to stay engaged with you, your audience, and feel connected to your vision.
Thank you so much, Sean. I have the same question for you.
Excellent. Yeah, and luckily, I've known you for a long time, Siddique, so I knew when you started this that it was going to be phenomenal, and you've taken it to a level I didn't even expect, because one of your great skills is that you don't mess around. You don't waste people's time. When they show up and they go and watch and interact with the Growth Hacking Show, they are getting quality content, quality information. It's done from only experts, from people who have been there, done that, know what they're talking about. So you bring high quality information from high quality individuals in a quick, easy to consume format for people to understand. So I find that to be extremely valuable. So I appreciate that about you and Growth Hacking.
Thank you so much. So Anthony, as we are about to wrap up, what would you say as a final word?
I would say unleash your heroic voice. You know that there's something in the world that you can impact just with your voice. I invite you to use that voice and turn it into an instrument for change.
Sean, what would you say as a final word?
Communication is something everybody can learn to be able to do. First, you got to get to know yourself. You have to know your audience. You have to know your message, and you have to know your voice. When you can do those four things, you can step into any conversation anywhere and achieve the outcome you want.
Wonderful. Communicate, communicate, communicate. Thank you so much, Sean and Anthony, for sharing your wisdom with us today on the behalf of Growth Hacking Show and our entire community. We really appreciate you. This is Muhammad Siddique signing off from Atlanta, Georgia, and all best.